Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Even after the Supreme Court has tried to rein in federal judges recently, an Obama-appointed judge struck down a Trump order preventing asylum requests and protections for illegal immigrants entering our country. We have the full story for you. Paramount Global and CBS have agreed to pay President Donald Trump a sum that could reach north of $30 million to settle the president's election interference lawsuit against the network. We have those details in today's show as well. And a transgender identifying athlete won a national cycling championship event sanctioned by USA Cycling and has biological women who competed asking when this lunacy is going to stop. One of the 9 candidates running for sheriff in Spartanburg County will not attend a debate sponsored by the county GOP after seeing that the party chairman called potential attendees of a free debate as hot, sweaty people too cheap to purchase a ticket. By the way, I'll be moderating the free debate with my colleague Tara Savacious on July 31st.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but you know they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
A federal judge yesterday blocked President Donald Trump's executive order that aimed to prevent migrants crossing into the U.S. at the southern border from seeking asylum or applying for withholding of removal. The decision marks a very significant setback for President Trump's efforts to intensify his immigration crackdown. U.S. District Judge Randolph Daniel Moss, he's an appointee of former President Obama. He ruled that Trump's January 20th proclamation, which described border crossers as part of an invasion, exceeded the president's authority. Moss sided with the American Civil Liberties Union, which had brought suit on behalf of several immigrant rights groups and 13 asylum seekers. The ACLU argued that Trump's order was not only unprecedented, but unlawful. Judge Moss seemed to agree, writing in his 128-page opinion that President Trump lacks the inherent constitutional authority to override federal statutes regulating asylum and removal procedures. Moss stated, to hold otherwise would render much, if not most, of the Immigration and Nationality Act simply optional. Moss granted a 14-day stay on his ruling to give the Trump administration time to file an appeal. He also certified a class of migrants, and this is a bit scary here. He certified a class of migrants who have been or would be impacted by the executive order, which allows the case to proceed under new constraints laid out by the Supreme Court in Trump versus CASA. That recent decision limited lower courts' ability to issue broad injunctions unless a class of plaintiffs is certified. In acknowledging the Trump case, Moss said courts retain the authority to set aside unlawful executive actions when necessary. The ruling triggered a swift rebuke from the White House, which accused Moss of defying the Supreme Court and promised a rapid appeal. Moss did note that the executive branch's enormous challenges in managing border security and an overwhelming asylum backlog. However, he said that these challenges do not justify presidential overreach. The judge said an appeal to necessity cannot fill that void. A decision, of course, was celebrated by the ACLU. Attorney Lee Gellert calling it a hugely important ruling that protects the rights of vulnerable individuals seeking refuge. He said not only will it save the lives of families fleeing grave danger, it reaffirms that the president cannot ignore the laws Congress has passed and the most basic premise of our country's separation of powers. The ACLU and co-plaintiffs had challenged the administration's use of Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act, which the president invoked to justify blocking asylum seekers. They argued that the proclamation effectively circumvented laws that specifically protected individuals from being returned to countries where they may face persecution or torture. Is that not the case with everybody who's trying to get into our country? That they feel like they're going to face persecution or torture or very bad conditions if they go back to their home country? Judge Moss's ruling emphasized that existing statutes clearly grant asylum seekers the right to apply for protection regardless of how they entered the country. Now, Stephen Miller, a fiery top Trump advisor, blasted the ruling, labeled Judge Moss a Marxist. In a post on X, Miller claimed the judge had created a global protected class of migrants entitled to enter the U.S., and that's basically what the judge has done here. Miller wrote, to try to circumvent the Supreme Court ruling on nationwide injunctions, a Marxist judge has declared that all potential future illegal aliens on foreign soil, a large portion of planet Earth, are part of a protected global class entitled to admission into the United States. And I have to agree with Miller. He's right. And that's the scary part of this decision if it stands. This is a legal blow. And, of course, it comes amid a broader push by President Trump to reinstate and expand hardline immigration policies during his second term. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments over another Trump initiative aimed at ending birthright citizenship. In another move, the administration has invoked a rarely used 1798 wartime immigration law to expedite deportations of migrants. We've seen that work. Judge Moss's ruling may set the stage for a much broader legal battle over executive immigration authority and could influence how future administrations approach asylum and removal policies. It's like these activist judges just do not love our country and feel like that everybody in the world has a right to come to America. We'll see. We'll see what, because the administration is going to appeal this. It could make its way to the Supreme Court, and we could get an expedited ruling from the Supreme Court. I don't think they're going to go along with this, not after they just, last week ruled that these district judges are overreaching their authority with all of these injunctions that we've seen in the 6 months that the president has been back in the White House. Another case that we've been watching, the family of the Colorado terror suspect who a few weeks ago injured the 8 Israeli hostage supporters. He had the homemade firebombs. A federal judge ruled yesterday that his family can be deported. Now, you may recall that his family had been apprehended soon after he committed this horrible crime. U.S. District Judge Orlando Garcia dismissed Mohammed Sabri Solomon's family's legal challenge to their deportation, stating that the Trump administration has conducted normal and legal removal proceedings. Solomon's wife and 5 children had sued to prevent expedited removal proceedings, but the judge ruled he lacks jurisdiction to grant petitioners the relief they seek. Garcia's decision superseded another court's ruling last month when the Biden-appointed U.S. District Judge Gordon Gallagher slammed the brakes on the Trump administration's attempt to deport Solomon's family. Solomon, 45, and his family moved to the U.S. from Egypt in 2022, but both his work authorization and tourist visas have expired. so they have no right to be here. Charges against this man include 12 federal hate crime charges, and state charges included 2 counts of first-degree murder. The June 1st attack in Boulder, Colorado, showed the 45-year-old screaming "Free Palestine" and calling for death to Zionists as he tossed Molotov cocktails and sprayed homemade flamethrowers. 8 victims, 4 men, 3 women, between 52 and 88 years old, were hospitalized with burn injuries as a result of Solomon's attack. 21 others suffered injuries but were not hospitalized. Those victims were supporting Run for Their Lives in support of Israeli hostages captured by the terrorist group Hamas. Solomon was arrested at the scene. His wife and 5 children were taken into ICE custody shortly after the attack. Karen Diamond, 82, died earlier this week as a result of burns that she suffered allegedly at the hands of Solomon. So at least one judge has a little bit of common sense and is going to allow this family to be deported immediately. Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. The mainstream media would love to sweep this story under the rug. President Donald J. Trump just scored another major win for himself and for the American people. And this time, the loser is CBS News, a pillar of the liberal media machine. Now, let's be clear here. This isn't just a legal victory. It's a symbolic blow to the empire of deceit that has passed for journalism in this country for decades now. This is a massive settlement, upwards of $30 million, depending on who you ask, paid by CBS and Paramount Global to settle President Trump's lawsuit alleging election interference during the 2024 presidential race. So what happened? CBS aired a now infamous 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris during early voting. You probably remember it. The interview was edited, and not just for time. The edited version hid a word salad of an answer from Harris, who was famous for that could have hurt her campaign big time. So they decided to clean it up for her. They aired one version of her response on Face the Nation and a different version during primetime, which got a lot of people's attention. CBS says both clips were part of the same answer. But when you see the raw footage, you realize that they sliced it, diced it, and served it up in a way that helped the Democrat ticket, or at least they thought it would help. Now, that's not journalism. That's controlling the narrative. That's manipulation. And as Donald Trump said, that's election interference, and enough is enough. He lost a $20 billion lawsuit against CBS, calling them out for election interference and misleading the American people. And CBS blinked first. They're paying $16 million up front, covering legal fees and contributions to President Trump's future presidential library or any other charitable causes that he deems fit. Yes, Trump gets to decide how to use it. There's also a potential mid-8-figure allocation, which could be valued at tens of millions more, for conservative-themed ads, PSAs, and other transmissions to be aired by CBS. Now, CBS can spin this any way they want, but this is President Trump forcing the media to promote conservative values. It's just that simple. The settlement also includes what's being called the Trump rule. From now on, CBS must release full, unedited transcripts of any presidential candidate interviews. No more selectively editing sound bites. No more hiding embarrassing moments for Democrats. That's a huge win for transparency and a huge win for the truth. Trump's legal team summed it up perfectly by saying CBS and Paramount Global realized the strength of this historic case and had no choice but to settle. President Trump will always ensure that no one gets away with lying to the American people. And that's what this is all about, folks. Accountability. For decades, networks like CBS, and you name it, have shaped elections by controlling what voters see and hear. That's very powerful. They're not reporters. They're activists with cameras and microphones. And this lawsuit pulls the curtain back. Even though CBS refuses to admit wrongdoing, and of course they do, they're never going to totally admit it, the settlement speaks volumes. When you fork over more than double what ABC paid President Trump in last year's $15 million defamation settlement, you're not just protecting your brand, you're admitting that you were vulnerable, that maybe the truth was going to win out. Oh, and it's not just the money. This lawsuit lit a fire inside CBS. It's already led to the resignation of CBS News president Wendy McMahon, who reportedly opposed settling with Trump. She walked away just weeks ago saying she no longer agreed with the company's path forward. So in other words, she was willing to hang around and continue the deceit that she had led this past year. Remember Bill Owens, the longtime 60 Minutes executive producer, who refused to apologize to Trump? He's out of there too. Sources inside CBS say that this lawsuit was complete BS, but the network's leadership had other ideas. Why? Because they know the Federal Communications Commission, now Trump's FCC, could shut down their merger with Skydance Media. That's right. Trump's influence over the FCC may have been the biggest leverage point in this whole drama, and the media knows it. Democrats, they're freaking out. Bernie Sanders and 8 other Senate Democrats sent a letter to CBS begging them not to settle, calling it an attack on the First Amendment. Here's the truth. It's not an attack on free speech. It's a defense of honest journalism, of the truth. So let's rewind the tape for a moment, literally. The moment that sparked this lawsuit was when Kamala Harris was asked during a 60 Minutes interview why Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wasn't listening to the Biden administration. The first version aired made her look completely incoherent. The now infamous word salad. The version shown later, cleaned up, short, concise, a different tone entirely. Turns out CBS had spliced her answer in half and aired the parts they liked in different context. The FCC, under Chairman Brendan Carr, forced CBS to hand over the unedited footage after a formal complaint. And when they did, boom, the whole game changed. Trump said it best on Truth Social. They cheated and defrauded the American people. Kamala Harris gave an answer that would have cost her votes, and CBS helped her cover it up. Now, that's not just an opinion. That's media manipulation during an election. That's what this lawsuit exposed. That's what it's all about. Remember, ABC already settled with Trump after George Stephanopoulos lied on air saying Trump had been found liable for rape in a civil case. He wasn't, and ABC paid for that mistake. Trump's legal fees covered, defamation settled. Look, Donald Trump's not going to play around with you. Yes, Donald Trump was the plaintiff. His name was on the lawsuit, but you could just as well have substituted the American people as the plaintiff. And now CBS is joining the list of mainstream media outlets writing checks because they lied, they misled, or they covered up the truth. This settlement, again, isn't just about Kamala Harris. It's not just about CBS. It's about the war against fake news. And like every great general, Donald Trump is fighting it on every front, legal, political, and cultural. So big win, folks, a big win. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. With the recent resignation of Spartanburg County Sheriff Chuck Wright, a special election is set for November, with the primaries being held on August the 5th. There's a crowded field of candidates, and we hope to be talking with each between now and the primary. Of course, News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas, will be partnering with the 4th District Republican Club for a free debate on July the 31st, beginning at 6:45 at High Point Academy in Spartanburg. So mark your calendars and plan to join us. My colleague Tara Savacious will join me in moderating this forum. And on that note, there's been some discussion about the debate that has created quite the discussion. Evidently, the Spartanburg GOP chairman is not too pleased with the fact that we are offering this forum for free. In a recent post, Frank Tiller had this to say, and I'm reading directly from the post. Can you imagine who will show up at a free debate? Hot, sweaty people, too cheap to purchase a ticket. Maybe they hope to see a knockdown, drag-out, all-star wrestling event at their debate. Jerry Springer style, in parentheses. In your face is not our style. People can choose. Maybe we air our recorded forum the same time as their debate. I think he meant to say recorded forum. So that was the post from Frank Tiller. That statement has led to a lot of discussion, and it's led to at least one candidate to withdraw from a debate being sponsored by the Spartanburg County Republican Party. And he joins us on our guest line today, Adam Chris. Welcome, Adam. How are you?
Hey, Joey, doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for your time. And I want to get to some of the important issues and why you're running for sheriff. But first, let's talk about your decision not to participate in the Spartanburg GOP debate. How did you come to that decision? I read your release, I read your letter, and talk with us about making that decision.
Yeah, so those disparaging comments that came from Chairman Tiller came across my phone probably 2 or 3 days ago. And I've been in discussion with my team about moving forward and not attending that forum due to those comments. So we made a decision today that we would stand on our moral grounds and we would stand for what's right, to let Spartanburg County residents know that we are not condoning that type of behavior. We are going to be hosting a live telethon kind of meet and greet the candidate town hall the same night as the GOP supposed wrestling match that they're going to have. And it's going to host 15,000 voters. So we want to let everyone know that, the sheriff of Spartanburg County is a very important position. And that sheriff does not just support the Republican Party, it supports everybody in the county. So we have to include people who financially can't show up and listen to you have a debate. You have to understand something. The sheriff's office is not for sale. We've already had issues with financial problems and stuff going on within the county. And the last thing we need to add to that is a fee to see a candidate show up, which he's already being funded by taxpayers' dollars. So we thought it was the right thing to do at the right moment to let everyone know where we stand. We stand with the people of Spartanburg County, and we're going to be transparent. We're going to let everybody have the ability to ask questions and hear directly from me instead of having to pay a ticket price to answer 2 questions.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Adam, believe me, Tara and I look forward to having you in our free forum open to all Spartanburg County residents, anyone who wants to come and hear the candidates again on July 31st. And now on to the really important issues. And just take a minute, Adam, to talk with our listeners about why you decided to run for sheriff.
Yes, so Spartanburg County is in a very difficult time, and we understand that intimately. I'm a father of 5 daughters that go to public schools in Spartanburg County, and it has invested in me the safety of the community as well as my family. I have a long line of law enforcement history with my father and grandfather. My grandfather was Martin Luther King Jr.'s personal bodyguard. My dad rose up to the ranks of chief, and now he does work with the FBI. I was a deputy sheriff. I moved into the private sector, and I'm a political appointed chairman of the Public Safety Committee for Lyman. I've raised police pay 22% since I've been in that leadership role since 2022, which is unheard of in the police field. I think it's the right time for young, energetic, fresh visions to be thrown out into Spartanburg and the old guard be taken away. Spartanburg County is only getting bigger and younger as the days grow, and they need somebody with that same exact passion and that energetic motive to go after crime, be hard on illegal immigrants, and make sure that these deputies know that they're going to be taken care of. These deputies have been dragged through the mud over this situation.
Yeah.
And I am very sorry that they're going through that, and it's disappointing, but they have to understand something. I have their back 100%, and we're going to be mission-driven to make sure that they understand that they're going to do their job to the fullest, and they're going to be supported 1,000%.
Yeah. On our guest line with me this morning, Adam Crisp. His name will be on the ballot in the August 5th Republican primary to fill the seat vacated by Spartanburg County Sheriff Chuck Wright, with the general election being held in November. Adam, obviously, as you mentioned, the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office is hurting right now. Give us some specifics of what you would do day one as sheriff to start rebuilding that trust.
Yeah, so day one, I would institute a panel that goes out into the community and gets what the real people who live in there, not just politicians, but the real people and the real problems that they are fighting against. We'll be able to have town halls with the command staff and myself personally quarterly to make sure people are heard and they understand what we are doing and the initiatives that we're putting forward. But we'll also be transparent every week and give news outlets a way to reach us, and we give the good, the bad, the ugly, or indifference. We're going to tell you exactly what happened that week in Spartanburg County. So transparency will never, ever, ever be something that people think that we're not being. We're going to be accountable. We're going to bring a fresh, energetic, new vision to the sheriff's office. With these deputies only getting younger and younger, they will have to have a young leader to lead them into the future. We're going from day one, we're going to have a 100-day plan of what we effectively are going to do to turn this thing around. Now, these deputies, they don't need to be scared. They don't need to have a lot of tension. I know that's what they're thinking about is my job on the line, this and that. Listen, we're going to be fair, we're going to be partial, but we are going to do an internal audit and see what needs to be changed, what is really going well, what is really going, bad. And we're going to be transparent with them. And we're going to make sure that they understand our mission. They're aligned with our vision of putting Spartanburg County first and making the community safer. And we're going to go and move forward with that. So let these deputies know, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an excellent job. I was one of you. I was on the south side of Spartanburg working 12-hour shifts, 7P to 7A, as the worst part of Spartanburg. I get it. I understand it. I've been in the trenches with you. But it's time for us to step up and move policing in a new direction. And that takes a fresh vision and a fresh image.
Yeah. Adam Crisp is our guest today. Other than restoring more morale among the deputies, and of course that is job number one, I think, what do you see as some of the most pressing issues in Spartanburg County?
Well, you're talking about Spartanburg County as like a whole in crime, or you're talking about deputies?
Well, as a whole in crime, what issues is the sheriff's office facing? Yeah.
Yeah. So the sheriff's office facing, low deputies coming to work, and that's a pay issue, and other agencies are poaching good officers for better pay, and I get it. That's the market, and that's kind of the society we have to live in. But I have a proven track record. I think I'm the only candidate that is in this race that has a proven track record of getting officer pay raises.
Yeah.
And I will do the same thing for them. I will fight for county council. I will build relationships that are broken. And when I mean broken, they're shattered between the sheriff's office. But you have to get those relationships back, and they have to understand that you're doing the right thing. And these officers need to be paid a moderate salary so they can raise their family on. That alone will boost morale. Then we will go and get the right officers from other agencies or newcomers coming in, going to the police academy, getting them on the road. We'll have the efficient amount of officers on the road to take care of calls for service. All our deputies are going to go to calls if they are needed and if they are requested. There's no more taking calls at the desk. We're going to be seen in the public, and we're going to be nonchalant about being unapologetically the police. We're going to put bad guys in jail, and we're going to treat them equally and fairly and with dignity. But you have to understand something. There's several issues in Spartanburg that is taking over. The drug epidemic is out of control. Illegal immigration is out of control. We're going to work with President Trump and his initiative to make sure that these illegal immigrants are taken somewhere else besides Spartanburg County. And we're going to work with ATF or the DEA to make sure that this drug pandemic is taken care of. But also these deputies are going to understand that their day-to-day jobs are going to be to enforce the law, be proactive instead of reactive, and go after crime.
Yeah. One final question for you, Adam. You mentioned illegals and deportation. What role do you see the Spartanburg Sheriff's Office playing in President Trump's effort to deport illegals, the worst of the worst who are in our community?
Yeah, so we're going to be 1,000% in the same mission as Donald Trump. We're going to make sure that we partner with the agencies, and we're giving the authority to the deputies that the United States or the federal government gives to these deputies to make sure that they go and enact and get in these communities and make sure these illegal immigrants and the worst of the worst are taken somewhere else besides Spartanburg County, maybe to the alligator prison that they're just making in the Everglades. But we have to understand that these deputies are going to be given the permission by the federal government to enact this legislation and this initiative from President Trump, and we're not going to back down. We're not going to bow a knee to any wokists who think that criminals are not criminals.
Yeah.
We are going to do our job to 100%, and we're going to be unapologetic about it.
Yeah. Adam Crisp, thank you for your time today. And hey, I look forward to seeing you at our free debate on July 31st.
I'll be there, Joey. I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
By the way, one more thing on the Spartanburg sheriff situation. Former Sheriff Chuck Wright and a former department chaplain have been confirmed to be under investigation now, according to some new documents that have been released. For more than 2 decades, Sheriff Chuck Wright has won the support of Spartanburg County voters. They started to unravel that support, though, in April of last year when the State Ethics Commission raised concerns about Sheriff Wright and his son. In February of this year, Sheriff Wright was sued by former Lieutenant Jeremy Byrd. The lawsuit alleged wrongful termination and defamation, claiming Byrd was fired after questioning the ethics of Sheriff Wright and hiring his son. Sheriff Wright pushed back, claiming he was not his son's direct supervisor. He said in response to the ethics investigation, I haven't done anything wrong. I certainly haven't done anything illegal. In November last year, Sheriff Wright publicly praised what he called a successful Operation Rolling Thunder, an initiative that led to $100,000 in cash seizures and hundreds of pounds of illegal drugs. Sheriff Wright said, I've been told ever since I became sheriff, you will never win the war on drugs. I've heard that and heard that and heard that, the sheriff said. Don't confuse that with the fight that we're going to put up. Just last month, Interim Sheriff Jeffrey Stevens confirmed that he was ending that operation. In April, Sheriff Wright stepped away from office, only returned briefly in late May before resigning just 3 days later. In his resignation letter to Governor Henry McMaster, Sheriff Wright cited a recent health diagnosis as the reason for stepping down. Now, according to a letter from Attorney General Alan Wilson's office, both Sheriff Wright and former chaplain Deputy Amos Durham are under investigation by the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. The letter also confirms that 7th Circuit Solicitor Barry Barnett requested the case be transferred to another circuit due to his office's close working relationship with Sheriff Wright. The request was approved, and the investigation is now in the hands of 10th Circuit Solicitor Micah Black, who represents Oconee and Anderson County. According to the letter, potential charges against Wright include misconduct in office, using his official position for financial gain, obtaining drugs or controlled substances by fraud or deceit, breach of trust with fraudulent intent. Officials say that Mr. Durham could also face a charge of breach of trust with fraudulent intent. In late May, attorney Frank Epps confirmed that he is representing Mr. Durham. As of now, there's been no confirmation on who is representing, if anyone, former Sheriff Chuck Wright. Transgender identifying athletes back in the news after a transgender identifying athlete won a national cycling championship event sanctioned by USA Cycling. And the reaction has been anything but quiet. Here's the story. Kate Phillips, a trans-identified cyclist, a male, and he looks like a male, standing there on the podium, took first place at the Lions Master National Championships in Wisconsin this week. But the win didn't go down smoothly. Julie Peterson, the second-place finisher, a seasoned veteran in the sports, made a statement of protest. She refused to stand on the podium during the medal ceremony. Her reasoning, Peterson told media that she didn't feel the race was fair. In her words, you could clearly see the power that he had. That's how she described racing against Phillips. She also shared that she didn't even know that Phillips would be competing until she had already traveled, registered, and invested time and money into preparing for the race. When she raised concerns with race officials expressing discomfort about racing against a biological male, she says she was quickly scolded and corrected. You can't call him a man, she said she was told. Wow. Peterson stood by her comment saying, well, he is a man. And she questioned why athletes aren't being fully informed ahead of time when trans athletes are competing in the women's category. Another veteran cyclist, Debbie Milne, who finished 7th in the race, echoed those concerns. She told Fox News, to be fair to all humans, he was born a biological male, and that is a fact. Milne brought up another aspect that's often overlooked in this debate, the psychological and hormonal realities that women deal with, she said, such as the impact of monthly cycles on athletic performance, something she said a man-born biological male can never experience. She's right on that. She also said she wasn't aware Phillips would be in the competition. Her words, I totally did not expect this. And it's not just the athletes from Tuesday's race speaking out. Christina Gray, a cyclist from Oregon who didn't race that day but has faced similar situations in her state, joined in support of Peterson and Milne. She said that in Oregon it's not unusual to line up against biological males in women's races. Practically every weekend, she said, there's a biological male in our race. This is just wrong, folks. I mean, I thought we had this problem solved. Evidently, it's much more widespread than we thought. These 3 women have reached out to the Independent Council on Women's Sports, known as ICONS, to raise awareness about what they say is an unfair and deeply frustrating situation. So what's USA Cycling's stance? According to their current transgender eligibility policy, biological males can compete in the women's category if they meet specific criteria, including a signed declaration of gender identity and passing something called the Elite Athlete Fairness Evaluation. So, in other words, these men just have to sign a declaration saying that they identify as a female. So far, USA Cycling has not responded to requests from Fox News. Neither has Kate Phillips or Ken Phillips, or I don't know what his original name was. The controversy isn't isolated, though. Again, it comes as several other major sports organizations face pressure and protest over transgender eligibility policies. We should not be having this debate. It should not be a discussion. Earlier this year, USA Gymnastics actually removed its policy altogether while they reassessed it in light of legal challenges. Over at USA Fencing, things got heated too, especially after a viral protest by women fencer Stephanie Turner sparked a national backlash and even federal intervention. Now USA Fencing says it's preparing to revise its policy, as it should. And over at USA Track and Field, they've shifted from the International Olympic Committee's guidelines to aligning with the World Athletics, which takes a more restrictive stance on trans participation in the women's category. So what's really at stake here? For athletes like these women, Peterson, Milne, and Gray, is simply fairness. It's about knowing who you're competing against and giving you that option. One of the women talked about how she had already spent thousands of dollars for travel, had taken time off of work, and had used her time to prepare for the race. And had she known she was going to be competing against a man, she would have never done that. But again, she shouldn't have to compete against a man. These organizations need to wake up. Sponsors should pull their money from these events. And if enough women of the true biological women would step up and just refuse to compete, this problem would go away. I mean, this is about ensuring a level playing field in a sport that already demands a lot from its competitors. Cycling is very physical, is mental and emotional as well. For others, it's a question of inclusion and the complexities of evolving gender policy in competitive sports. It should not be complex. It's really a very simple topic, as we've discussed many times. You have males and you have females. Males should compete against males. Females should compete against females. If this guy, Ken Phillips, Kate Phillips, or whatever you want to call him, if he wants to be a cyclist, compete with the men. The problem is he can't. He can't compete with the men. That's why he's going over to the women's sports. Wow. The one thing we do know, this debate is far from over. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.